PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and this video I want to talk a bit about using pentatonic scales for soloing and kind of understanding where they come from, how you can exploit them when you're soloing, and then kind of how you can move beyond them and start to bring in some extra notes to give your solos a more interesting sound. So I think there's any guitarist, there's two scales that you need to know. If you want to call yourself a guitarist, you need to know a major scale, because all of the theory that you learn is based around the major scale. So even if you don't actively use it a whole lot, all the music theory for what you do play uses the major scale as a frame of reference, so you need to know that. And the other scale, which you just absolutely have to know to have any sort of credibility, is the minor pentatonic. It's a bit like, I guess, if you're a chef, you have to be able to cook an omelette, you have to be able to bake a sponge cake. If you can't do those, you're not a chef. If you can't play a minor pentatonic and you don't know the major scale, you really can't call yourself a guitar player. So today I want to talk about the pentatonic scale. There are actually two. There's a minor pentatonic, but there's also a major pentatonic. I'll start with a minor pentatonic though, because that's the one that most guitarists will learn first. It's more useful in contemporary music, leads into other things like blues scales and so on. So let's take a look at the minor pentatonic. If you've got a copy of PhatPhish there, fire it up and dial in. We'll work with an A minor pentatonic. So dial in A as your root note and you'll see something that looks like this. And from that you can kind of strip down a box pattern, which you'll probably be familiar with already, that looks like this. So that scale there's got the formula 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. So it's a minor scale because it's got a flat third degree. And you can use that in a whole load of different contexts. Generally, say you're playing an A minor pentatonic there, if you're in the key of A natural minor, you can use an A minor pentatonic. If you're playing a blues, which could be major, it could be minor, you can get away with using a minor pentatonic because there's like this major minor duality with the blues. So if I just play a chord progression, I've got a looper pedal down on the board here, so I'm going to, if I just play just a really basic chord progression and let that loop through, I'll show you what I mean. Minor key chord progression. Okay, so that's just a really simple chord progression there, just looping between A minor and D minor, so very much an A natural minor key that I'm playing in there, and because of that I can use the A minor pentatonic scale over the top of it. Now the first thing that you learn probably after the minor pentatonic is the minor blues scale, which is basically the minor pentatonic with an added flat fifth degree. So you have the first, flat third, fourth, flat fifth, fifth, and flat 7 to take you back to the octave. Now that flat fifth degree might sound a little bit odd, particularly if you play it like straight after the root note. Now it's not a particularly nice sounding interval. It's called the devil's interval, the tritone. It's three whole tones, 6 semitones. It used to be banned in like religious music because it thought it sounded so demonic and evil. That's why it crops up quite a lot in like heavy metal music. Because it's got such a dark sound. But if you use it sparingly in a blues context, it adds a little bit more texture and flavour to what you're playing over the minor pentatonic. Still got that chord sequence stored in the looper, so I'll set that away again and play over the top of it using the minor pentatonic with the added flat fifth, the minor blues scale. so got a little bit more interest to it there because I got that flat fifth degree. Now it doesn't do to like dwell on that flat fifth degree. So if I just play the chord progression and then really labour the flat fifth degree of the scale. No, that's not nice at all. You need to be careful about how you use it. It adds some bluesy colour to the to a lead line, but if you overuse it or you dwell on it, it starts to sound a bit jarring. Anyway, okay, that's minor pentatonic and the minor blues scale. Basically, as a general rule of thumb, anywhere you can use a minor pentatonic, you can use a minor blues scale. So now I'm talking about it's like scales that you have to know. So we're talking about like basic, fundamental things that you have in your scale vocabulary. That's not to say that the pentatonic scale is it's basic and it's simplistic and it's something that you need to move on from. You can do an awful lot with a minor pentatonic, and even the most advanced guitarists I know will still use that minor pentatonic. So it's not something that you learn and it's just like a stepping stone onto other things. It's a stepping stone, but it's a stepping stone that you build on, and you take it with you and you continue to use it. So I'm going to make a little bit of a jump now from talking about something quite fundamental to something that's getting towards more advanced theory and talking about modes. Because there's an interesting relationship between the pentatonic scale and modes. So again, if you've got your copy of PhatPhish there, dial in, we're working with an A minor pentatonic there, dial in PhatPhish A natural minor, okay? And you'll see a scale that looks like this. Again, strip it down to a scale box that you're probably generally more familiar with and you play day to day. Now look at these notes here. These notes are the notes of the minor pentatonic. So the A natural minor scale is actually notes, you can think of it in a way as being notes that are added in to the minor pentatonic, or think of the minor pentatonic as being like a skeleton around which the full natural minor scale is built. That's natural minor scale is also called the Aeolian mode. If you're not like heavily into modes, don't worry about it too much for now. Some of the names might sound a little bit weird. There's some other tutorials on the channel where I talk about modes in a bit more detail, so you might want to go and have a look at those if you're not familiar with modes. But the important thing here to remember is that the minor pentatonic contains notes from the natural minor scale or the Aeolian mode, or you could look the other way around, that the Aeolian mode is built around notes of the minor pentatonic. Okay, that's A minor. How about you dial in a Dorian mode? Dorian mode is the second mode of the major scale, and it looks like this. Now again, look at these notes. The Dorian mode is a minor mode because it's got a flat third degree, but it's also, as well as the 1 and the flat 3, it's got a 4, a 5 and a flat 7. The notes of the minor pentatonic also occur in the Dorian mode. And just for completeness, have a look at the A Phrygian mode. Again, it's got a 1 and a flat 3, what you'd expect because it's a minor mode, but it's got a 4, a 5 and a flat 7. It's got flat 2, whereas the Aeolian mode and the Dorian mode had a natural 2. And it's still got a flat 6 and the flat 7 that you saw in the Aeolian mode, the natural minor. The Dorian mode had the natural 6. So there's little different things that distinguish the three minor modes. What they've got in common are the notes of the minor pentatonic. And that's important to know. If you think about using the pentatonic as a skeleton of a minor scale, of a mode, so what that means is anywhere you're playing in, say, like a Dorian mode context, you don't necessarily have to use the full Dorian mode. You could just use the notes of the minor pentatonic. Kind of show you that in context, I'm going to record another quick chord sequence here. I'm going to play something that gives you the impression of a Dorian. So I'm going to be playing A minor to B minor to C major and play it all over an A in the bass and get something that sounds like this. play over that just using the minor pentatonic. Sounded okay, didn't it? I could give that a more bluesy feel by using the A minor pentatonic with the added flat 5, the minor blues scale. Yeah, so adding in the flat 5 to that minor pentatonic gives you a bluesier sound. That still works. So we're hearing a Dorian mode chord progression and just using notes from effectively a minor pentatonic over the top of it. So you could do something similar if I was playing something that was in Phrygian mode. I could use the minor pentatonic there to change that with the Phrygian. So basically, anywhere you use a minor, you can use a minor mode. You can use the corresponding minor pentatonic. So what I want to kind of move on to now is the idea of sort of embellishing the notes of the pentatonic to bring in modal sounds. So I've got something there that was in definitely a Dorian mode, but you can hear the A and the bass. It's drawing your ear to that sort of sound. The notes of the chords and whatnot, but the lead line was very much pentatonic. And it sounds fine for what it is, but I can make it sound a little bit more interesting if I start to add in notes from the Dorian mode. So I'm playing a Dorian, so I've got 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, and then back up to the octave. So that's a bit more complex sounding than the minor pentatonic. Still got the notes of the minor pentatonic there, but I've also got the option to add in 2 or 6. So let's play the chord progression again and start adding in just notes from the Dorian mode so you can hear how they kind of bring out the Dorian tonality of the piece. Yeah, so that's got a richer sound because I'm using all the notes of the Dorian. And just to kind of complete that idea, so anywhere you can use a minor mode, you can use a minor pentatonic, or you could use a minor blues scale. And what is a common thing to do is to kind of like mash the scales together. So why not play the notes of the Dorian mode, because we're playing an A Dorian, but add in a flat fifth. So we've got the smoothness and the bluesy quality that the blues scale gives us because of that flat fifth degree, but we've still got the richness of tonality that we've got by having all 7 notes of the Dorian mode. Again, play the chord loop and show you that in action. Yeah, just a little idea, using the notes of the Dorian mode, adding in a flat fifth degree, so kind of combining scales. Started this talking about minor pentatonic because it's the scale that most people know, but there's a similar principle you can apply to major scales. As well as the minor pentatonic, there's a major pentatonic. And it works the same way as majors and relative natural minors. If you take a major scale, take the 6th degree, that becomes the root of your natural minor. Or conversely, the flat 3rd degree of a natural minor scale is the root of the relative major scale. So if we take a minor pentatonic scale and rearrange it around the flat third degree, we end up with the relative major pentatonic. So whereas the minor pentatonic has got the formula 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7 and the octave, the major pentatonic has got the formula 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 and the octave. So completely different formula. Again, you go to PhatPhish and have a look at a major scale, and so here let's say we'll go to C major because we're using A minor before, we'll use the relative major. Look at the notes of C major and you can pull out, these are just the notes of the pentatonic scale. So anyway you could use a major scale to construct a lead line, you could use just the C major pentatonic. And it goes for the other modes. If we look at the other major modes, we've got the Lydian mode and the Mixolydian. So C Ionian mode is the major scale, which is what we're looking at now. If we look at C Lydian, again we can see it's got that sharp fourth degree that makes it the Lydian mode, but it's got the 1, the 2, the 3, the 5 and the 6. So it's got the notes of the major pentatonic. And likewise, if we look at the C Mixolydian mode, again it's got some distinct notes that make it the Mixolydian, but it's still got the 1, the 2, the 3, the 5 and the 6. Major modes are, you can think of them as being built around pentatonic scales in the same way that we saw with the minor scales. The major pentatonic is like a skeleton for the major modes. So anyway, you can use a major whatever major mode, you can use the corresponding major pentatonic, and this is quite a useful way if you want to go through key changes. So you think you're playing over a chord that might be, say, functioning. Say if you're playing over like a G chord, G major chord that's functioning as a 5 chord in the chord progression. So you'd be using the notes of, like, say, G Mixolydian over that. And then somebody affects a key change, and now that chord is actually functioning as the 1 chord of G major. If you want to smooth that transition out in your lead line, rather than focusing on notes of the mode, you could just use the notes of the pentatonic. So you're hearing the pentatonic in the first case functioning as the skeleton of a Mixolydian mode, and then in the second, like with the chords now functioning as the 1 chord of G major, it's now the major pentatonic is functioning as the Ionian mode in the new key. So you can use, that's one way that you can use pentatonics. Very, very useful scales to know. So spend a bit of time experimenting with using, if you generally dwell on using minor pentatonics because that's where you came from, consider when you're using that minor pentatonic, what mode is it functioning as, and add in some notes from that corresponding mode to give you a bit more flavour. And conversely, if you find yourself using lots and lots of notes and really bringing out modal tonality, well, think about if you can possibly slim it down, streamline it a bit and just make it sound simpler. Consider using a pentatonic just to give you a slightly different feel. There's no right way or wrong way to use them. The music theory is, you can kind of think of it as rules, but they're rules that once you understand them, you can adapt them and apply them in the way that sounds good to you. The ultimate judge is your ear. If you think something sounds good, then it works. What I'm kind of trying to show you here is this is like why it probably works, because of the relationship between the scales and modes and all that sort of thing. Okay, quite a theory heavy lesson today, but hopefully plenty of food for thought and some stuff for you to go away and practice. And as ever, use PhatPhish to help you figure out where notes of different scales and so on are on the fingerboard. Okay, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found that useful. If you did, please click like. If you really enjoyed it and you want to see other videos that I post on the channel, then please click subscribe, which is also down there. You're welcome to leave a comment, but I don't always see comments that are left on YouTube videos, so if you've got a specific question you want to ask me, whether it's about music theory, guitar playing, guitar gear, anything at all, you're better off going here, filling that form in, sending your question in that way. I'm guaranteed to see it. I don't always see the comments on YouTube videos, but I do see those questions that are sent in direct, so I can get around to answering your question in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.